I'm Ed Walsh, and I'm pleased to be
Any other
joined on
center? Okay.
stage here today by a couple of industrial internet IoT thought leaders. Dr. Joe Salvo from GE. There we go, and Dr. Saeed Tabet from EMC.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning, everybody.
So, Joe, we just saw in looking at that video, it's obviously a very exciting time from an IoT perspective, industrial internet, some of the great activities that are going on. We just heard about from a robot perspective. But I noticed in that video there's about $5 trillion in savings that were talked about. What's real?
Yeah, so I think you have to realize this is going to change everything. And I have an unfair advantage with a lot of people that talk about the future because I actually come from the future. And let me explain. I've worked at GE's Global Research Center now for, this is my 30th year. So I'm paid to work in the future. And anyone who's been an inventor realizes that after you have the idea and start to work on the technology, it typically takes 10, 15, sometimes even 20 years to create the ecosystem and the supporting technologies and supply chains that will make that idea into a world-changing technology and creative force. So the things around the industrial internet, this is what we've been working on for the last 20, 25 years. So it is going to be a reality. It is real already. So we have been doing the connection of industrial equipment for decades, and we've been using high-performance analytics to optimize the operation. Now, what's really changed is because of Metcalfe's law and Moore's law, we now have the computing power and the networks that allow us to move out of the deterministic realm, which is really what people were talking about with the robots. When the early robots are formed, you create all these algorithms and you try to fate map everything that could happen. Well, in the world we're in now, it's non-deterministic. You can't predict the every feature of the world. Maybe 70% of it depends on the area you're looking at. Mm-hmm. So that $5 trillion is going to come very easily from just optimizing the parts that we can predict and plan. But there's a whole new space that we have had great difficulty up until now to address, which is the non-deterministic part. And that's what you get when you connect massive real-time networking to infinite compute. And that really makes me excited every morning.
That's a great point. And Saeed, maybe you could share with us some of the new technologies that Joe was alluding to there that are necessary to bring this to life.
Absolutely, Ed. I mean, we're talking about the industrial internet being real, but being here at the Web Summit, that's a really good question. I have a lot of innovators, a lot of future innovators, a lot of people who are already thinking about that. Technologies, they start with the data, more the knowledge that we're going to have through the sensors, the actuators, the smart gateways, the intelligent devices that will be connected. We're looking at billions of those, not just in terms of the devices themselves. We know that today there are probably over 8 billion smartphones. There's so many. We're already connected just in this room. The amount of data and the analytics, as Joe mentioned, will allow us to take this to the next level, to be able to
How do we do that analytics
that
at the edge, where we can bring it closer to those devices? Sort of, Joe was talking about some of the non-deterministic types of behaviors. How do we get that so that the reactions are quicker?
Absolutely. When you look at the industrial internet, and when a new wind turbine joins a group of those, we're talking about the digital tribal knowledge. That turbine is going to learn from the others. That data that will be shared, that connectivity is very important. When you think of it that way, then you're actually monetizing that data. You're creating models that enable you to take it to the next level. And that's why Joe comes from the future. We've got those models already, and we're working into making the real thing better, the physical, bring it together with the cyber.
That's awesome.
I'd like to add, when we talked about robots earlier today, there was a great focus on the empathy and the concept of a mind model. What we're entering in now is we can put self-awareness and a type of meta-consciousness in extremely complex machines. These can be aviation systems, Most of you have probably flown in today on a GE aircraft engine. We now take gigabits of data flowing off those engines and look at it every day. A few years ago, it was basically 3 sets of data: takeoff, cruise, and landing. So the massive amounts of data really are the heart and soul of this paradigm shift that we're starting to see. So really the goal of the industrial internet is connecting the hundreds of billions, if not trillions of objects in the world. And these objects are not going to be unintelligent things. They are going to start to have more and more intelligence. And they're not just going to be robots. They're going to be things that have types of intelligence that are very foreign to what we would think about as a human intelligence. So I don't think people should really overly focus on replacing a human with a robot. We are going to create types of self-awareness that far transcend anything that a human can do.
All new types of opportunities. I'd like to maybe just pivot a little bit from the technology piece to start to think about some of these opportunities and how they're going to impact society that we live in. In the video, it talked about, a cleaner.
I think that is a fantastic point. I just came back from Asia, and everybody is concerned about jobs. Everywhere in the world, people want to work. People love to work, and they're afraid. And they're afraid that they're seeing a big transition, and they don't know what this future is going to be about. The good news is we're moving to a point where we have abundance of problems, but we also have the abundance of people that can solve these problems. The problem that has faced us in the past is the tools of innovation and creativity have been held by a small subset of organizations and people. So we are now trying to democratize the access to the tools of creativity, things like computing power, analytics, high-performance computing, collaboration platforms. This is going to allow people from every walk of life to get engaged and solve the world's problems.
How do you see that helping to improve society overall? Some of the issues related to ethics were kind of touched on in the last panel as well.
Well, there was a lot of focus in the past on competition. Who's going to win? And obviously competition will still exist in the future. But I think because the nature of the market is going to this much broader, customized market, that there's going to be more and more room for individuals and small and medium-sized enterprises to address custom markets and be focused less on competition with other groups and more about creating value for their customers. So this is going to happen at every level between companies. We already see it happening. We form ecosystems. Companies that typically did compete in the past, you see them on the same product list now.
Yeah, that's interesting, the way the IoT market is maturing. There's different types of activities that are going on to bring that to fruition. Saeed, maybe you could talk a little bit about some of the consortiums that you're leading and participating in. Maybe we could bring up the first slide, I think.
Absolutely, Ed. So before I do that, definitely let's not kid ourselves. I mean, this is something that needs to be made real by the collaboration of all industry vectors and sectors, public, private, innovation from startups and so on. So we need to bring all that together. And in doing so, these consortiums such as the IIC, the Industrial Internet Consortium, which started initially with 5 companies, over a few weeks, it turned into 50 companies, and what you're looking there is about over 200, maybe 2,000 participants from 26 countries. So when we look at that, it gives you that idea that it's actually true that we got to work together. As Joe said, competitors becomes collaborators.
A lot of those companies have been traditionally competitors, right?
Absolutely. And obviously, a lot of the challenges that we need to deal with, we'll talk about security, trust in general, complexity is going to become bigger, and we're looking at interoperability. We need to be able to talk to each other. That's the whole idea of these gateways. They need to be smarter, more intelligence, because the sensors and all the devices out there and all these large machinery, they're not going to be all the same. They're different. We need to be able to enable innovation there. So with this, there are test beds that are being put together. These are experimental, real environments that we can actually start working with those use cases, and that's where all these companies are doing at the moment.
To put the types of machinery and equipment that we're talking about on a network, remember, these are the types of machines that our lives depend on. So we need a whole nother level of security, robustness, and guarantees that don't exist on the existing consumer internet. So in order to make that happen, it's not just a technical problem. We have to embrace all the countries of the world and get them together to form a consensus so that data will flow. Whenever you reduce the friction of moving either physical goods, ideas, or data, you get explosions in creativity and innovation. So that's really what we're trying to do here. We're trying to bring people together with no presupposition of what this network should look like. And we're working as a team to make sure that everybody feels like their voice has been heard. And it has been an amazing thing to happen. As Saeed said, just over a little year ago, I founded this organization with 5 colleagues, and now it's growing so rapidly. We're over 2,000 individual members in working groups and communications, marketing, technical areas.
How many countries are involved in this?
26 countries
26.
so far, and I didn't call in this week. My guess is it's even higher. So it's an amazing thing to see. I would encourage all of you to check out the website, industrialinternetconsortium.org. It's open. The idea is no proprietary technology will be fostered by the consortium itself. Individual IP owners obviously will keep control of their IP, but the idea is to have open standards, interoperability, and rock-solid security and authentication.
Now, Saeed, I think one of the most successful examples of the testbed is based right here in Ireland. Is that correct?
Absolutely, and this was not done on purpose. But it's a great place to be. I mean, Ireland is a tech area, and we've seen some of these use cases flourish here. And those are based on real test beds. And we're looking to expand that actually further, connect them with others. Like I said earlier, the whole idea that these machines will be able to talk to each other and be able to share knowledge and experience. And driving, as you see there, we're in Ireland, but we'll connect to the US. Joe and I are working together, and from there to other areas of the world in Asia and Africa and other places, yeah. And there are lots of challenges to deal with. There's a lot of innovation that's coming from the room. Hopefully that people are going to start thinking about very specific
So these are open
models.
for anybody to be able to participate.
Absolutely, yeah.
And the IIC.org is the
Absolutely.
place to go look at.
You know, once again, you can use the analogy of transportation. If you look at wherever an airport is put, that community experiences a burst in growth and creativity, new startups. This is exactly what's going to happen with cities and countries that upgrade their infrastructure. In the case of the test beds that we're talking about, I have a dedicated 100 gigabit per second line coming into my laboratory, upgradable to literally tens of terabits per second. When you have that kind of computing and data flow channel, you can envision all types of services and products that are impossible to do.
So you see these test beds becoming connected, Joe?
Connected and global, and my hope would be in the near term we can reduce the cost of data flow by orders of magnitude. This will free up a whole new generation of entrepreneurs and allow the forces of creative destruction to really change the fabric of the world as we know it.
Changing the world is a great topic to be discussing at 11 o'clock in the morning, right? So I think we're out of time, but I thank Joe and Saeed for joining me here today. I think, you know, we covered a couple key things. You know, obviously technology is changing. It's allowing this evolution to occur, the destructive forces to occur, but also thinking about some of the societal benefits that are coming out of the industrial internet and IoT capabilities, not just the revenue opportunities, cost savings that are associated with it. So thank you very much for joining us, and we'll be around, I think, the rest of the day for you guys, right? So please.
Yes, I got to get back to the future.
There you go.
Thank you, everybody.